trace it back. They can do that pretty quickly, but again, the FBI, possibly even the Secret Service, would be called in on this to try to find out what's going on. Remember, it's a manpower issue. You need to get as many people as possible. Now, I can also tell you, Lisa, that Mayor Giuliani is supposed to speak very shortly. He's going to be speaking from Park Place and Church Street. That's fairly near where the crash site happened. The mayor will be speaking and telling us exactly what he knows up to this point.
Marcia, thanks very much. Jim Smith, are you still with us? Obviously, yeah, taking pictures there. I didn't know if we had your microphone up. Can you talk a little bit about the flight rules and what you're used to seeing there in the way of flight traffic?
Yeah, Michael, first off, we can tell you that it was the south side of the World Trade Centers that were struck, just to give you some perspective. Those are the sides that face out towards New York Bay. Now, I have my pilot, Ed Baker, here with me as well to talk about what may have happened. Now, traffic flying through the area does not necessarily need to talk to the airports. However, it is most likely that they would have been in contact with the airport. That's if they were even contacting the airports at all. I'll ask, first off, Eddie, given the winds today, would this be a plane that would be approaching, taking off or leaving from either LaGuardia or Kennedy Airport?
This could very well have been a plane on approach to LaGuardia Airport. With the winds at this angle, they would probably be, if he was on the expressway, a visual approach to runway 21. Normally they bring him in over where the Mazda tanks were, and then bring him on a downwind along the LIE and boost to flying runway 21. So it would be normal.
All right, so obviously we're having a little trouble with Eddie's microphone, but Eddie, given the flight pattern at this time, any planes landing at LaGuardia Airport would be coming over Queens and not over the Hudson River. Lisa, Michael, back to you.
Okay.
Jim, thanks very much for that update. If you can continue to hold the shot for us. Terry Shane is a witness, and as you look at tape of the second plane making impact with Tower 2 of the World Trade Center, which just happened 18 minutes after the first impact, which was shortly before 9 a.m., the tape of this second impact happening 18 minutes later, shortly after 9 o'clock this morning. 40,000 people working in the World Trade Center. We don't know how many were in either tower at the time of the impact, but we do have joining us on the phone Terry Shane, who is an eyewitness to what's happened. Terry, good morning.
Morning to you, mate.
Where are you? What's your location, and what did you see happen?
I'm on Union Square, and I was facing the Twin Towers, you know, having my coffee on the balcony in the morning, and I saw this plane coming over, and I called my girlfriend to say, come and have a look at this plane, it's really flying very low. The next thing you know, I see the plane start deviating. It's sort of, you know, doing like not a victory wave, but, you know, a little bit of a left, a little bit of a right, and then it straightened out, and it just continued going straight onto the building, mate.
Oh. And your reaction, of course, was unbelievable, as is ours.
Well, you know what the crazy thing is? I grabbed my camera and tried to take some pictures of the plane coming in, and the camera did not work. The camera didn't work anymore. I couldn't believe it.
Terry, I was unable to hear you a moment ago. Did you make any comment regarding anything you've seen on the ground in that area?
Well, I couldn't see nothing. I can't see the ground, but I can see the two towers very clearly from where I am. And you know, the impact of the plane itself onto the building, it seemed to me as if it went straight through the entire thing.
Right, sure. Again, thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
You're looking live from our Chopper 2 and from multiple cameras around at two planes that have crashed into both World Trade Center bombings. Number one, shortly before 9. Number 2, about 18 minutes later. Debris is drifting over Brooklyn, about 3 miles from Trade Center building number 1. According to witnesses. And of course, seeing all that thick black smoke, Michael, harkens back to, of course, the World Trade Center bombing of '93 that killed 6 people, injured more than 1,000 others.
Now, we do expect the mayor to be speaking shortly. Let's go back to the newsroom and Marcia Kramer, who's monitoring the story from there. Marcia?
Well, Michael, although we have no word about whether this is a terrorist attack or not, we do know, Channel 2, CBS2 has learned that the FBI offices across the country, from one end of the country to the other, have been put on high alert. What that means is that they are going to protect all federal buildings all across the country, all landmarks and all monuments, not just here, but in Washington and other places across the country. Again, FBI offices across these United States have been put on high alert to look out for any similar instances. We have to repeat, however, that there's no indication at this time that it was a terrorist attack, but what they're trying to do is to make sure that they have all their bases covered. They're trying to sort it out to find out whether there was a terrorist involvement or whether it was some kind of fluke accident where, for example, the radar system at Kennedy and LaGuardia Airport may have gone down for a brief period of time. Again, the FBI offices across the country are on high alert. Federal buildings, landmarks, monuments, synagogues, mosques, things like that are being guarded to make sure that they are being protected and there are no further incidents.
As investigators clearly look into all possibilities, we certainly don't want to lose focus of the potential here for casualties, and there obviously could be very, very many. Marcia, can you tell us again what hospitals in the area are doing and what they're saying right now as far as how many they're expecting?
Well, I can tell you that New York Beekman downtown is the nearest hospital, so that'll probably be a place where they triage patients. But again, there's so many people that could possibly be injured or even affected by this that they're going to have to probably call into many of the hospitals in New York City. The nearest trauma center would be Bellevue Hospital, which is on the also on the east side, but they'll probably be bringing patients, depending on the seriousness of their injury, to probably all of the hospitals in New York City. I also want to tell you something else. In Sarasota, Florida, President Bush was reading to children in a classroom at 9:05 a.m. when his chief of staff, Andrew Card, whispered into his ear. The president briefly turned somber before he resumed reading. Asked what he knew about the planes, Bush replied, "I'll talk about it later." Here in New York City, again, though, the federal government has tightened security at all landmarks. We want to recap. Planes crashed into the World Trade Center, creating a horrifying scene. There is now no word at this time on casualties, but the hospitals in New York City have all been placed on alert. They are expecting casualties. We don't know how many. And again, all landmarks, all FBI offices are on high alert. Michael and Lisa, back to you.
Marcia, thanks very much. We want to give people an idea of what area is affected. If you're unfamiliar and you're new or just visiting New York City, the World Trade Center is down there in the Financial District, just north of Liberty Street, south of Vesey Street, and west of Broadway. It's both Towers 1 and 2, as you can see from the live picture provided by Chopper 2. The first impact in Tower 1 happening just before 9 o'clock this morning. The second impact that we had shown you videotape of not too long
live
ago.
on our cameras here.
And we were able to provide that image for you. The second impact, though, happening about 18 minutes after the first impact, and here's another look at it on tape. Hard from our angle to tell what type of plane or to really discern anything from that other than the obvious. So we're continuing to contact the FAA as well as the Port Authority, all airline carriers. We've heard reports that the FBI now investigating possibilities, we want to emphasize, of a possible hijacking and
or suicide mission, that's also a possibility that we're being told is being looked into.
All reports from the Associated Press as well. We understand that George Bush, the president, who was in Florida speaking to children, as Marcia mentioned a moment ago, when he was notified of what had happened, is scheduled to speak sometime soon, as is Mayor Giuliani.
Right.
The Associated Press only reporting that the FBI investigating, as is their job, any possible evidence of foul play. Okay.
Of course, it's difficult to find out information because the Port Authority is based at the World Trade Center, and Marcia Kramer's been trying to get in touch with them and get the latest for us. She's got a little bit more info for us from the newsroom. Marcia? Well,
Lisa, there is now word that the Port Authority has closed all their bridges and tunnels coming in and out of the city. What that means is the George Washington Bridge is closed, the Lincoln Tunnel is closed, the Holland Tunnel is closed, and all airports are now closed. That's regarded as a security measure. Remember, when you take a look at the possibility of terrorist attack, our bridges and our airports and our tunnels are regarded as prime targets. So to make sure that there isn't any other further disaster, they are closing all the bridges and tunnels into New York City. So to repeat, the George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln and Holland tunnels are closed. All three area airports, Newark, LaGuardia, and Kennedy airports, are closed. Now, in Washington, the FBI was said to investigating reports around 9 o'clock, just before the first crash, of a plane hijacking. That's something that they're going to have to be looking into to see if the plane that crashed into the first World Trade Center building, Tower 1, was in fact a hijacked plane. The way the city and state and federal officials are reacting is as if this was a terrorist attack. All of the FBI offices around the country have been placed on high alert. They are guarding all of our landmarks and our monuments. Again, the Port Authority has closed all of the bridges, all of the tunnels. They have closed all 3 airports. We now have word, however, that the outbound George Washington Bridge is open. All others are closed. Again,
today we've had a national tragedy.
Uh-oh, is that President Bush speaking?
Yeah, we're now hearing President Bush.
Let's go to him. If we can even get audio, there he is.
Terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
We've been watching President Bush, who was down in Florida for what was...
Okay, we're coming back, as you just heard, the president speaking about this incident, which he clearly called, or did he?
He seemed to imply that, in fact, it was what looks to be a terrorist act. His remarks very brief, saying only that he had pledged the full resources of the federal government to go to the victims and of the families as well, and also a concerted federal effort to hunt down those responsible, saying that terrorist acts against the United States will not, under any circumstances, be tolerated.
We're understanding that dozens of injuries, people who are injured, have been sent to St. Vincent's Hospital. St. Vincent's is expecting hundreds of more injuries, 100 people, and you could expect that considering there are 40,000 people who work at the World Trade Center towers. This is an unbelievable thing. President Bush was reading to school kids in Sarasota, Florida, when he took a time out to speak about this incident. As you get, again, as you said, Michael, the Mayor Giuliani, is planning to speak at any time now from Park Place and Church Street, which is not too far from the scene. So as soon as he begins to speak, we'll go down to him. We're sending crews out to the scene as well, waiting on Marcella Palmer to get set up and give us what she knows.
The New York City Fire Department asking now all firefighters to return to duty immediately. A department spokesman saying that the firefighters who are off duty or who are on vacation should still report because of what you're seeing here live at the World Trade Center. The pictures provided by Chopper 2, pictures all across the city that we've been following for you for the last hour. This is a live picture, but moments ago, the second impact, the second plane that struck Tower 2 was captured on tape, and you're looking at it right now. Again, this is videotape happening 18 minutes
apart
after the first impact. You saw it as we saw it as it happened. The first impact happening just before 9 o'clock this morning. The second impact 18 minutes after. And again, you were looking there at videotape of that second impact. 40,000 people working at the trade centers. We have no word at this point just how many were in their offices at the time of the crashes. Again, back now live, courtesy of Chopper 2.
Michael, we're just hearing one of our information partners, CNN, is reporting that one of the planes was an American Airlines 767 from Boston, a Boeing 767 from Boston, according to our information partner, CNN. We're not sure which plane that was, if it was the first airplane or the second. Again, looking into the possibility of a hijacking, a possible suicide mission. The FBI on high alert. All bridges, tunnels leading into New York City have been closed.
All three
airports have been closed, all under the command of the Port Authority, which ironically is based at the World Trade Center. Also, the Emergency Command Center that's supposed to be bomb-proof and earthquake-proof is at 7 World Trade Center across the street there. President Bush, as you see on the bottom of your screen, is calling the crashes terrorist attacks, and he is pledging to a full-scale investigation to hunt down and find the people responsible for it. Marcia Kramer, you're in the newsroom. What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you now that New York City is going on high alert. It's going into what you would call its terrorist alert. They've established a no-fly zone over all of Manhattan. The Lincoln-Holland tunnels have been closed. The George Washington Bridge is closed coming into the city. Also, the Queens Midtown Tunnel and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel are in the process of closing the lanes coming into Manhattan. They are not letting any traffic come into Manhattan. They are trying to get everybody to leave the city. There's a no-fly zone over all of Manhattan, and all of the bridges and tunnels are in the process of being closed. I can also tell you that the first casualty has been brought into Beekman Downtown Hospital. It was a young man in his 20s. He came in with blood gushing out of his arm. The New York City Fire Department has put in a call to all fire department members, firefighters, and others who work in the department to come in even if they are off duty. Again, New York City is going into a high terrorist alert, trying to make sure that there are no further attacks on any of our landmarks, our bridges, or our tunnels. This is a normal procedure that New York City puts in place when they have to deal with something like this. It was a procedure that was developed after the bombing of the World Trade Center, which happened in 1993. I can tell you that witnesses are telling us that they have seen paper and pieces of office material flying through the air, drifting over Brooklyn about 3 miles from the tower. That happened after the first attack. Again, New York City going into a high alert, closing off Manhattan, trying to protect its bridges and tunnels. The UN, the United Nations, has been evacuated. The Stock Exchange has been evacuated. These are two of the landmarks in New York City that police and FBI officials have regarded as potential targets of terrorist attack. Again, we have also learned that FBI offices all across the country have been put on high alert for the possibility that there could be terrorist attacks other places in the country. Again, President Bush said that he called it an apparent terrorist attack, but it will take some time for the FBI, New York City Police Department, and others to determine exactly what happened. Lisa and Michael?
Marsha, have you had any contact at all with the governor's office? Because the Associated Press reporting that Governor Pataki in Manhattan today, that's what the office in Albany is apparently telling the Associated Press, although the staff not saying where the governor was at the time. Do we expect to hear from him, and do you know where he is?
Well, I think that President Bush himself said that he had been in contact with Governor Pataki. I wouldn't be surprised to find Governor Pataki showing up at the same press conference with Mayor Giuliani. At this point in time, it seems it would make a lot of sense for the governor and the mayor to deal with this together. We have another report. All of Lower Manhattan's subways have been closed. They are trying to keep people out of Lower Manhattan so that they can clear the streets to evacuate the people who may have been injured or if there are any fatalities. Right now we have no reports on the number of people injured, on the number of people who are trying to be evacuated from other floors in the building. But what they're trying to do is keep as many people as possible out of Lower Manhattan so that you can get the emergency vehicles to the scene. You need fire trucks, you need as many ambulances as possible, and so you're going to need to keep as many people away from the scene as possible. That's all we have for now. Back to Michael and Lisa.
Okay, Marsha, thanks a lot. We were told a few minutes ago that dozens of injured people were at St. Vincent's, and St. Vincent's is one of the hospitals expecting hundreds of more people to be taken to St. Vincent's. Beekman Downtown Hospital, the first casualty we understand was a man in his 20s who came in with blood gushing out of his arm, according to what Marsha found out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, no-fly zone over the entire area. The only bridge that's open is an outbound GWB. That's the bridge that's open. Otherwise, the Lincoln and the Holland going into the city are closed. The Queens Midtown Tunnel, about to be closed, is in the process of being closed. They're trying to keep everybody from coming down into this area and trying to get people out. Stock Exchange closed. The UN evacuated. Stock Exchange evacuated. Debris is still drifting miles from the scene as we look at the effects there of two airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center. The first one from witnesses was a small, according to eyewitnesses, a small plane, apparently, a twin engine possibly, or a boat. And then we had another report that it might have been a 737. And then CNN reporting
that one plane, apparently an American Airlines 767 from Boston. That according to CNN. And another quick reminder that the Jersey State Police saying that all Hudson River bridges and tunnels closed as a precaution. And as Marsha Kramer mentioned, that this is just standard operating procedure in a crisis like this, especially what happened after the bombings in the World Trade Center. And then all of these systems then become implemented. And the mayor, as well as the governor, we expect to hear from shortly. You'd heard earlier from President Bush, who seemed to sound reasonably certain that these were terrorist attacks, though, of course, we haven't the final confirmation saying that they are apparent terrorist attacks. The president pledging full support of the federal government, as would be expected, for both the victims, their families, and also to launch a full-scale investigation to hunt down those responsible, saying that terrorist acts against the United States under no circumstances will be tolerated. He's obviously quite shaken. He was just prepped as he was speaking to children in Sarasota, Florida. His aides came in, told him what happened. He made his way to a podium to address the country as soon as he could. His remarks very brief, but in essence that's what he was saying. All of the government's resources will be going toward the victims and their families, and as well as an effort to hunt down those responsible.
All right, Michael, we have an eyewitness here, Beverly Marone, who lives 16 blocks from the World Trade Center. Beverly, good morning. You saw the second plane crash into tower number 2?
Yes, I did.
We have video. We saw it live here, but we're going to replay the videotape for those of you who did not see this unbelievable scene here of an airplane crashing into tower number 2 just 18 minutes after another airplane crashed into tower number 1. Beverly, what did you see exactly?
All right, I saw the second plane. My cat woke me up for the first fire. She was hysterical, so I came to the window to see why, because that's where she was running, and I saw the first fire. And a few minutes later, I mean, I don't know exactly, I saw this plane that looked blue and red. My eyesight's not great,
no.
So
don't worry. Another eyewitness described the plane as blue and red as well.
And it was big. I mean, you know, it was certainly not a toy plane. From this window, it's big. And it went into exactly where the fire is coming out of the second part of the the second building of the World Trade Center, the building south of where I live.
Sure.
Okay, Beverly, thank you very much for your insight. Hope you stay safe down there. Let's go back to Marcia Kramer in the newsroom for some further developments. Marcia?
Well, we're now able to confirm from reports we've just received that the first plane to hit the World Trade Center, that's Tower 1, was a plane that was hijacked from Boston. It was a 757 from Boston. Again, we have reports that the first plane to hit World Trade Center 1 was a 757 out of Boston. That was a plane that had been hijacked. That apparently was the plane that was being investigated by the FBI just before the tragedy occurred. Again, the 757 out of Boston was the first plane to hit the World Trade Center. We have no reports at this time about what plane was the second. And we're also told, I'm sorry to interrupt you, we're also reporting now, believe it or not, a fire at the Pentagon. So that's part of the reason why the FBI has been put on the alert all over the country. Again, 2 things to report: a fire at the Pentagon, and that the first plane to hit World Trade Center 1 was a 757 that had been hijacked out of Boston. U.S. officials are investigating that. Again, trading on Wall Street has been stopped. The Wall Street Stock Exchange has been evacuated. The United Nations has been evacuated. They are now evacuating the Pentagon. Lots of buildings being evacuated. They're not taking any chances. It's starting to look like this is not an incident limited to New York City, that other U.S. targets, other U.S. sites are being targeted.
This is coming at 9:43 Eastern Time. And we understand that there's a bomb at a helipad.
All right.
You're listening to Brian Gumbel with CBS News as you look at pictures, live pictures from Washington, D.C. Marcia mentioning it, you're looking at a fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon, also the site of activity, is clearly evident there on your screen. CBS News also reporting that the White House has been evacuated. Evacuated only. You're looking at a split screen now. The World Trade Center, the site of 2 plane crashes that Marcia Kramer reporting a moment ago, apparently confirming that the first plane, a 757, was hijacked from Boston. No confirmation yet on the impact of the second plane. And Marcia, are you with us again?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I have to break in. Apparently, the Pentagon was also hit by an airplane. The thing that caused the crash, the Pentagon on fire, was another aircraft that crashed into the Pentagon. So right now, so right now we have, to recap, we have 3 planes 2 hitting the World Trade Center, 1 hitting the Pentagon in Washington. As a result of that, the West Wing of the White House is being evacuated, the Pentagon is being evacuated, and as I've already told you, the United Nations and the Stock Exchange have been evacuated as well. I think you can look for further evacuations of major U.S. installations around the country. Again, FBI offices all across this country are on high alert. They're trying to protect New York City landmarks, national landmarks, New York City landmarks, and also important buildings around this country. I think they'll also be protecting the Capitol and other important buildings in the Washington area. Right now, not only New York City on high alert, but Washington, D.C. as well. The Pentagon has been hit by an aircraft. The Pentagon hit by an aircraft. It is on fire. You can see those pictures on one side of your screen. On the other side of the screen, you can see the World Trade Center, which was hit by two planes. The first plane that hit the World Trade Center was a plane that was hijacked from Boston. As a result of that, we can also tell you that Logan Airport in Boston has also been closed. New York City airports are closed. Bridges and tunnels coming into Manhattan have all been closed. Anything that could be a further terrorist target is now being closed down as New York City and apparently the Capitol go into a high terrorist alert. There's also a new report right now, you're not going to believe this, of a fire on the Washington Mall. So there's now 2 targets in the Washington area. First the Pentagon, and now a fire on the Washington Mall. There's no indication what has caused that fire, but the Washington Mall is on fire. Expect further evacuations of buildings in Washington, as well as further evacuations of buildings here in Manhattan. That's all I have to report. Back to Michael and Lisa.
Quite a lot there, Marcia. Thank you. Washington Mall, of course, a big tourist spot there. If you look live at some of the tape, this is tape of apparently a casualty from the World Trade Center bombing.
From crews on the ground here, this is rather from the plane crash.
Yes, from the plane crash.
We had reports, one confirmed casualty. We don't think it's a reach to assume that there will be far more in that 40,000 people work in the trade centers. As you look, only a live picture on your left as these as the fires continue to burn at the World Trade Center. This is unedited unedited videotape from the ground level.
Is this Beth Israel or St. Vincent's that we're looking at? We're trying to ascertain. Of course, St. Vincent's has already received dozens of people coming in. They're expecting hundreds of more. All the hospitals, Beekman Downtown Hospital, all the hospitals are on high alert as well, as you're expecting hundreds, possibly thousands of injuries. Again, ladies and gentlemen, in case you just missed it, the Pentagon has been hit by a plane. Witnesses saw a tail of a plane strike the Pentagon. As you look live at New York City's 2 Trade Center buildings on fire from 2 apparent airplanes going into it. One was, the first plane crash was from an American Airlines 757 out of Boston that had been hijacked. The second airplane we're trying to get beat on as far as what type of aircraft that was, also a large plane. Logan Airport in Boston has been closed because of it, as are all of our airports, no doubt, our subway system as well. As we look live on the right side as well, that is flames and black smoke billowing from the Pentagon as that aircraft was hit just a few moments ago, 9:40 this morning.
Should point out as well that there's also a fire reported in the Washington Mall. No confirmation as to the cause of that. And the West Wing of the White House and the Capitol buildings have been evacuated amid the concerns over terrorist threats. Sure. You heard the president addressing the nation briefly just moments ago after only the 2 plane crashes. I shouldn't say only, but before we had word of the Pentagon plane crash. He spoke to the country briefly. We have those remarks for you. Perhaps we can take a listen, and if you're just joining us, you can get caught up with what the president had to say.
Let's go to Michael Slattery live on the scene. Michael, take it away. John Slattery, I'm sorry. John Slattery. Are you ready? Okay, we were told John was ready. We're going to continue on with our coverage. As you look at a split screen, folks, at an unbelievable scene. Marcia Kramer, what's an update for us? She's in our newsroom.
Well, we just have a little bit more information, Lisa. Apparently that plane out of Boston that left Logan Airport had sent out a radio transmission, a probably coded radio transmission to air traffic controllers that it had been hijacked. That's why the FBI was investigating it, and eventually that was the plane that crashed, the first crash into World Trade Center 1. Again, the plane that crashed into World Trade Center 1 had previously sent out a radio transmission that it had been hijacked. impact. But given the fact that Washington, the route from Boston to New York is a very small one, the FBI probably didn't have enough time to stop the plane before it crashed into World Trade Center 1. They simply didn't have enough time with the radio alert to stop the plane or get another plane into the air to